Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the NECA Predator 2-pack for 2012. And this is the Jungle Hunter and the City Hunter Predators. Both Predators we've gotten already from NECA several times in several different formats. But this set is unique. It's the annual Toys R Us exclusive Predator set. And to remind you guys, if you don't remember the history of this set, the first time we got a Jungle Hunter Predator with a closed mouth that came with an alien. The second time we got a Predator 2 masked figure that came with a cloaked berserker. And both of those sets were fine. I liked the idea of the Alien versus Predator pack. Last year's pack with the cloaked berserker, the berserker seemed more of just, hey, we got to put something else in there. We don't have anything better. But I think the concept of this pack is a really nice pack for collectors because it gives you something different and yet something very the same. So if you'd never picked these guys up before, there's reasons to pick it up. And if you have picked these guys up before, there are also reasons to pick it up. So let's go in depth, look at everything there is to see in this 2-pack here, and see how it stacks up. As with every 2-pack we get with these NECA Predator things, we get some trophy skulls. And at this point, we are one skull away from completing the overall trophy wall from the end of Predator 2. So here we have this guy. Kind of a nice skull. It's like an off-white, but it has some darker pieces on it, some like staining. It's got this ridge up at the top, some holes. It's kind of similar to the way the Predator skull is designed. I wonder if that's intentional. Kind of human-looking here in the back. This may also just be somewhat reused pieces by NECA. I'm not even sure. But the jaw looks cool. There's no articulation here, though it seems like it should, but it's really just a seam in the plastic, and you can kind of pull it apart a little bit. But it's a good looking skull. Looks pretty darn cool. Then we got this big guy here. Really creepy looking thing. It's got the big teeth in the front, the tusks here. Once again, the lower jaw looks separate, but it's not articulated. Obviously, it's an omnivore. It's got some like, grinding teeth back here. But the design of this skull I've never really understood because we have what I assume this would be the front. It's got the lower teeth and the they're all curving correctly for this way. But the ridge of bone here is going over the eye socket, so it would not be able to see forward unless its eyes were on like stalks or something, which is kind of strange. And then back here at the base, there's these horns, so I'm not really sure where the actual neck would be. It's just a very odd design for a skull. It's cool looking, but when you start thinking about the biology of the creature behind it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But still cool looking. My one gripe now is that I have to go back and track down that San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Cloaked Predator because he has the missing skull from the set. Once I get that one, it'll be everything but that T-Rex skull they had in the movie, which is huge. But I like to have as many of the skulls as possible. And I just never really wanted to get the Cloaked Predator 2 figure, but that's the only way to get that, which is kind of lame seeing that NECA didn't allow you to buy individual figures this year for their Comic-Con. You had to buy everything. So I'm kind of hoping we'll get a re-release of that sometime. Maybe, hopefully. So let's start off the figure review with the figure I was least interested in. This is the Jungle Hunter from Predator 1. Now why am I the least interested in this figure? Because it's used to hell and back. We've had it a billion times. We had the classic Predator from the Predators line, which was basically him without the trophy skulls. We then got a masked version of the classic Predator with the broken mask, which at least is somewhat more specific to the movie it's in. Then in the first 2-pack, we got our first official Jungle Hunter figure. Then we got a masked Jungle Hunter. Then we got a cloaked Jungle Hunter, and now we got this guy. So that's at least 6 different releases of this character. However, NECA did do some work to try to step up their game on this guy that I'm pretty appreciative of. The big deal with this guy is that we got the new articulation, the Predator 2 style articulation, so we actually have the ball-jointed legs. And heck, let's just go over articulation first off. He's got the standard ball-jointed head, pin socket shoulders, full rotation, bend, swivel at the elbow, ball jointed wrists, swivel at the waist, no ball joint there, unfortunately, unlike some of the other Predators. But his legs can go forward, back, out to the side, rotate at the upper leg, double jointed knee, and a ball-jointed foot. So NECA gave him, instead of a sculpted on loincloth, we now have a rubber piece. There's no rubber butt on this one, just a flap on the back that's movie accurate. So that's one big plus to get this guy, is he has the articulation that matches the more recent Predator figures, which is pretty cool. But also some of the decoration on him is different. The sculpt, from what I could tell, is exactly the same. The one big sculpting difference, besides the lower body here, is the fact that we have two open hands on him, which I like a lot. That's kind of cool. But the paint quality is overall just better. Now, if you remember me talking about the masked Jungle Hunter figure, I mentioned they really beefed up the metallics on the paint and the deepness of the colors, and that's carried on here, and I think even improved. We have this silvery, chromy, but almost copper-esque look to all of his metal pieces that are just phenomenal. It has a great sheen to it. I love it. I really do love the color they've gone on him. His flesh as well is a deeper, darker color, which I don't remember if that's movie accurate, but it's very appealing to the eye. They've also added a little more detailing on top of his head. There's some more dots here that weren't in there before. There just looks like to be more shading and dark areas. And then my absolute favorite, inside of the mouth here, they have painted in veins. He has veins inside his mouth, which are freaking awesome. For a reused head sculpt and a mostly reused body, that's pretty sweet. I gotta dig it. As usual, he comes with his plasma caster. You pull it up, you can rotate it around. Mine's pretty loose, which is a bummer. However, with this version, I'm probably going to keep it off of him. Honestly, I only really want to keep it on the masked version of this character. Simple enough, pops off just like everything else. There's his back panel. His dreads aren't as messed up as some of the earlier figures were. That's something they've gotten better with. I don't know if it's a packaging thing or the way they're made, but it's come out a lot better lately. I love these tubes. I've mentioned them before. I like how big and thick they are, how bendy they are. They can move with the character very well. And of course he has his extendable wrist gauntlet. Down here on his leg, we have a nice little torrent of Predator blood on him. Now, I'm kind of confused about this because I don't know if this is supposed to be here or not. It's kind of odd, especially because it originates from about mid-leg here and comes down, and it looks like it flows nicely, but that could also have been paint dripping. But because this is multicolored paint, there's two different tones of green in there, I would assume it's an intentional paint app. And I've contacted NECA to see what they say about it, but I haven't gotten a response yet as of the time I'm recording this video. But it's a very curious feature on him. I don't really know how to feel about it. I know he did injure his leg in the movie, but I don't think it was there that it was injured, and there's no damage done to his armor or anything like that. So if you know the answer to the blood question, please let me know, because I'm curious about it. But overall, for a re-release, this is pretty cool. I actually, when I saw the pictures of this in package and NECA started releasing, I contacted my friend who hasn't picked up any of these figures, but he always is kind of looking at them when we go on toy runs together. And I'm just like, hey dude, do you want the classic Predator out of this? Because I really want the Predator 2 figure, but I'm not so big on the original one. I have plenty of them. And he kind of passed because he wanted the masked one, which of course we're getting that masked one with Dutch in the spring, hopefully. But I'm glad I didn't give this one away to him, or, you know, split the cost of this pack with him, because it is a pretty sweet figure. And also, having said that, it is cool that we're getting the masked one redone with Dutch, but I think this is the one you want with your Dutch figure. Granted, we're not getting that muddy, bloody Dutch yet, I think, in the first line, but I think this is going to be the one that's going to be cool to pose with Arnold with the unmasked version. And here he is in with his other Predator 1 or Predator 1 style brothers that I have. I haven't picked up quite all of them, and I don't really intend to pick them all up, but here we could definitely see the progression of this figure as it's gone through the hands of NECA. So over here we have the classic one. Looking at him side by side, he has a much paler color. Some of his armor has a very heavy green tint to it, and the detail just isn't there. A lot of muted colors on the face and everything. And he's a very flat paint job, as opposed to this new one, which has a very glossy, shiny paint job on him, which I like. Then back here, we have the one from the original 2-pack. He has a little less of the green on his armor, but it's still present. His colors are still kind of muted and pale. And I just never really warmed up to this facial expression on him. I think it's a little goofy. And here we have my favorite of the first three I bought, which is the Masked Jungle Hunter. Still one of my favorites. He has a very similar metallic color to this guy. They both match pretty well. A little darker paint scheme on this guy, and I think he's actually a little glossier. So none of them really are the same when it comes down to it. The paint apps tend to be different. A lot of differences. Just looking at these things I never noticed. The buckles on this guy and this guy are painted in, like up here, you know, in the strap. And these other two, they are brown or not painted at all or barely painted. Another weird comment to make is height. A lot of people complain with the new Predator 2 figure that they ended up coming out so much taller than the original set. And putting this guy in, he's about on par, if not a little shorter than his older counterparts, which really surprised me. I think NECA tried to redo the legs, not to make him fit in with the Predator 2 line, but to make him fit in with the other Predator figures in that style. And your opinions on that are probably going to vary depending on how you felt about it. I try to get my Predators in dynamic poses anyway, so you can't really tell the height difference. It's not a significant height difference to me anyway. But just something to be said about the scale of these guys. Next up, we have the new City Hunter figure. And this, we haven't gotten this guy as many times as the Jungle Hunter. We got the original release unmasked on its own line. We got the 2-pack last year with the masked version, San Diego Comic-Con cloaked version. And now finally we have this version with the rebreather mask. But this one is a significant change over what we originally had with any of the other ones because he's a battle damaged figure. Very prominently all over the figure you have a lot of blood splatter everywhere on him. Really unique, really cool looking. I think NECA did a pretty good job with the way they achieved the blood effect. As I said, I'm not sure if the Jungle Hunter was supposed to have that blood. This guy definitely was supposed to have it, and it looks pretty darn cool on him. Another feature I love on him is this rebreather mask. Really cool looking, pretty movie accurate. It's got a nice paint job to it. It's semi-metallic but pretty muted, kind of like the armor was in Predator 2. Covers the lower part of his face where his mandibles would normally be. You can see his eyes coming out over top of it. And it's got a thick cable here. It's not bad. I don't think this is going to break too easily. And it plugs down into his armor back here. So pretty simple, pretty out of the way. I'm sure you could probably end up breaking it if you're not careful, but you're going to have plenty of room for the articulation. I don't think you're going to have any issues with it. He's got standard articulation as well, ball jointed head, pin socket shoulders, bend, swivel at the elbow, rotate at the wrist on a ball joint. He does have a ball jointed waist, so you don't get a lot of up and down with this one, you just get a lot of swivel. Forward, back, out to the side of the leg, swivel at the upper leg, bend the knee at 2 points, and rotate at the foot, ball joint as well. And ironically, even though we haven't gotten as many City Hunters from NECA, I'm going to be really brief with the review on the actual sculpt of this guy because we've gotten this armor a billion times. I talked about it in my last Predator Week series. And then the plasma caster is the same. It still has the nice swivel. It has the track it goes into. Ball joint at the top. Swivel at the bottom. Really nice little gun. I do like how it's done. The armor is all the same. Just has the paint job accurate to this character. He's got his disc holder. Now, on the packaging, it lists he comes with the disc. I heard NECA say something to the effect of they didn't get packed in with every figure. There was some mistakes. I believe they said you could contact them to get one. I have plenty. I don't use them all with the other Predators I have. He doesn't have a hand to hold it. I really don't know if I'm going to bother. I really don't know if I'm really going to bother doing it. We'll see. I'll think about it. He's got his rubber butt flap here, which just makes me laugh. His armor is all loose on these little things. He has a little man purse here. Re-inclusion of the net gun, which we haven't seen in a while on a figure, which is pretty nice. Now, there's no new sculpt for the blood splatter. You can even see here that it's over top of the netting. You can see the netting through the blood, which is what I expected. It's nothing spectacular, but it is a good effect, and from a distance, he's going to look just fine. Now, the cool bit of retooling they did besides the face is here the arm can actually come apart. And then we have the severed limb with the blood inside, which is pretty cool. Now, I should have mentioned this in articulation because of the single peg here. We actually do almost get a new articulation point. So you kind of have to line it up so it looks right when he's plugged together. But a big gripe I have about it, and I wonder if there's a good reason for it that I'm not seeing, or if it was just an oversight. But because of the way this is shaped, we have the peg coming out of the figure and the hole in the severed limb. Now, I really feel like this should be the other way around. We should have had the peg coming out of the arm and the hole in the limb. Maybe it would have interfered with the articulation. Maybe that's what the problem was. But if we bring in the battle-damaged McFarlane Predator, who I must say the blood on his body is not nearly as impressive, but it does have a much more glowy factor to it. It's a little brighter, a little more vibrant. Kind of like their blood a little more. But then their version, you would unpeg it, and they used 2 pegs, which I think kept the arm from rotating, left the sculpt looking a little better when it was together. And then the holes were in the arm itself so that it just looked like gaps in the blood. Then you had 2 pegs coming out of the separate arm. I like the way McFarlane did it a little more. NECA's is much cleaner. The blood coming out here kind of gives away the fact that the arm's going to break. So that was kind of weird on McFarlane's part. I've already reviewed this figure. You can hear my opinions in that review. But I do wish there would have been a way to flip the way the peg was on here. And the more I think about it, the more I'm guessing it's an articulation thing. And I wouldn't have wanted to give up articulation for this gimmick. I did, however, see this morning somebody posted a mod they did on theirs, which is really cool, is they apparently got rid of this peg, and on each end, or one end, I'm not sure how they did exactly, but they put in some rare earth magnets into the arm and have it as a magnetically connecting joint, which I thought that was pretty freaking cool. I don't know if I'm going to attempt it, and I think it'd be hard to match this paint myself just to a level where I'd be satisfied. I think you could match it, but it wouldn't look quite right. Maybe I could even just make it black. Maybe that would be happy enough for me. But either way, it was a cool idea, and if you're willing to mod these figures, it could be something fun to do. And he also has his retractable wrist blades, but his are very loose, and they come in and out way too easily. I'll probably just leave him out, so there's no issues with it, but a little odd how flimsy they are in here. But overall, I think this is a worthwhile version of the character. I'm so glad we got this rebreather mask. It's a very different version of this figure than we've had before from any company, and I'm pretty excited to add him to the collection. And here we go with the whole City Hunter family again. It's so funny to see how different the NECA figures are from the McFarlane. The McFarlane looks so dull by comparison paint-wise, except for that blood. The blood really does pop on him. The accuracy on NECA stuff is just so much better. The articulation so much better. And the size of the head is so much better. This was the version where he had the removable mask, as I said in my review of it as well. Once again, go back, check out that review. But he really does look like a pinhead next to these other guys. And one of the reasons I kept this figure around, had him displayed, was to have the removed arm. Now I'm not even sure what I'm going to do with him. He keeps breaking. He's not the best figure. He's becoming further and further redundant in my figure collection. Unlike the Jungle Hunter, there's been so little time between these Predator 2 releases. Not a lot has changed. With the unmasked version, it looks like the colors on the head have darkened up a little bit. The paint looks a little cooler on this new one. I know a lot of people had issues with the paint job on the original City Hunter head. I do like the version here a little more. They're still solid releases, both pretty good. They're both going to look good in your lineup together. The Masked City Hunter, I think, is still my favorite out of them all. I just love the mask design. He looks pissed off. He looks intense. That's definitely my favorite of the 3 from NECA, but this guy is definitely running a close second. Then again, I never had as many issues with this one, so I'm happy with the whole set. I really am very happy to have all 4 of these guys, really. Actually, I have another McFarlane one that I didn't drag out here, so 5 City Hunter figures. And I guess I'm going to have to go pick up that San Diego Comic-Con one off eBay or something, because I want that skull so badly. Overall, I am so happy I bought this set. It really came out really nice. I am overjoyed with how good this thing was, because I really was thinking it was going to be a character I didn't care about, a figure I didn't need for my collection, with one that I wanted as a variant. And I was so bummed when I saw they were doing a Masked City Hunter as a single card release this December, and that they were putting this version in a 2-pack, and I felt like it should have been the other way around. And nope, I am thrilled with this purchase. So happy I picked it up. And for $30 at Toys R Us, it really is a steal. You're paying less for these two figures than you normally would individually, and you get 2 cool skulls with it anyway. So if you're new to Predators and you want to get a good start and get 2 iconic Predators from 2 movies, is a great version to pick up. If you already collected these other ones, I've told you the similarities and differences. They're all there. They're right here in the background, even in this shot, as much as I can cram them in there. Definitely a worthwhile purchase for newbies and fans of the line alike. Definitely a very high recommend on this year's Predator 2-pack. I'm totally thrilled about it. My biggest regret with this pack is that right now, if you've been following me over on my Facebook page, I'll put a link in the bottom description if you haven't, but I posted a picture maybe about a month back of my new setup for my figures. I got some new shelving and I got them up there, and right now I'm waiting to do some rearranging in my office to fit in a second set of shelves, and because of that, my Predators are kind of not as displayed as I'd like them to be. They're kind of all huddled together in a little ball, and there's really no good display going on with them right now, which makes me sad, and having these 2 new guys in the set makes me even sadder because they don't have a new home to go to until I get the shelving situation set up. But this isn't the only 2-pack that NECA put out this Christmas. They're putting out a Rocky pack, which I'm probably going to pass on, an Assassin's Creed pack, which I'm probably going to pass on. But there happens to be another pack from a movie directed by some guy who's done a few iconic space movies and then put one out last year that was either awesome or pissed you off beyond belief, depending on your opinion of it. But yeah, I, for one, was a fan of the new movies, so I'm going to be picking those ones up as soon as I can get my hands on it and come back with a review of the Prometheus 2-pack. There's been another Outside the Box Reviews. Stay tuned for more to come.